Because you both popped the balloon.
Okay, but who is it? Who did it first time?
Oh, she did it.
So the first cause is Miss Williams popped the balloon, right?
Yeah.
And what was the second cause?
Gracie popped the balloon.
Gracie. Do you see how, even though it's the same effect, were they different causes?
Yeah, because different people did it.
So when we read our text, we have to make sure we really pay attention, because otherwise you might be like, it's the exact same, but it wasn't, was it?
Because different people did it.
Different people, so at different causes, but the same.
So sort of like when Hunter throws something down on the ground of plastic, the cause of that was Hunter throwing something down. The effect was an animal eating it and dying.
And then another person throwing another one in the bag.
And then Aiden did the same thing.
What the heck just happened?
You're cleaning up.
Oh man, we got some scrambled eggs. Okay, so what happened? Alright, hold on. Okay, wait. You're telling me the cause. What's the effect? What happened?
You killed the egg.
I dropped the egg, but what happened because I dropped the egg? Okay, so what would be the effect? What's the effect? What happened?
You killed a chicken.
Alright, hold on, level 0. Okay. So the cause, why did the egg break?
Because you dropped
So I dropped the egg. What was the effect?
it. It broke.
It broke.
And you
So
killed
the
it.
egg broke because I dropped an egg. So the cause is I dropped the egg. The effect is you broke. The egg broke.
You killed a chicken.
So do you think you guys, is it in your head? It's real life now? Do you think that you could write some cause and effects about the book we learned? Yeah.
I have a question. Can I throw an egg on the ground like you just did?
No.
Aw.
Maybe later though.
For what?
Okay.
Throw an egg on my head.
Yeah, do you see my little emoji I had
Yeah.
blowing out the 0? Because you guys were like, what did she just do? Okay, so now I'm going to go over our science real quick, okay? So when we get into on your own independently, you're going to do this, okay? But before I give this to you, I know it might look really big, but I'm going to show you how we're going to do this, okay?
Pretty easy.
It's not too bad, it really isn't, okay? So, annotate over this. Okay. So, I'm going to pick from the book. I'm going to think about the book, okay? Okay, so, the cause. Why did it happen? So, I'm going to think about something that happened in that book. I think that plankton or fish, let's just do this. Fish disappeared. Fish disappeared. Okay. So when fish disappeared, what happened? What happened? Does anybody remember what happened? Emma? The plankton got out of control. You are exactly right, Emma. So when the fish disappeared, the plankton
Also, it can affect the seals because the seals don't have anything else to eat.
And the shark.
right. So we could say on this next one, I could say,
So if the fish
so
died,
if the fish died, okay,
The other end
the seals
died.
didn't have anything to eat.
But if the seals died, the sharks don't have anything.
Had
Sharks
Yes.
died.
You guys are doing so good. Okay, so I have some causes of why it happened and what happened, but now I want to make some final conclusions, okay? So I'm going to go to this next sheet right here. I'm going to go to this next sheet. Okay, so I'm going to write my first cause. I said that fish. Yeah, I need to fish disappeared. Okay. Oh, I wrote that wrong, didn't I? Okay. So we said that plankton took over. That's what Emma told me, right? Plankton took over happened. So plankton took over happened because why did it happen? The fish. So I'm going to write a little bit more. I'm going to use what I know about the text. So the fish disappeared, but why did the fish disappear?
Because the seals ate all the fish.
Yes, the fish disappeared because the seals ate all fish.
Because there was no predators to eat the
Oh
seals.
my goodness. So what was the final conclusion of that?
There was no predators to eat the seals, so the seals had all free range of fish.
The ocean was empty. Yes, Grace, you're exactly right. What are you going to say? What do you think?
If the sharks and the seals disappear, then the fish, well, like they will have a lot of stuff to eat because some sharks they'll kill animals and like suckerfish they'll stick the sharks and if they're not the girls the suckerfish eat that after and if the sharks don't eat it.
So you're saying by this one thing happening, it causes chain event in the food chain, right?
Yeah.
And what was the final conclusion? What happened because of all of these things?
The ocean didn't have any animals in it.
The ocean didn't have any animals, so it was the opposite of our vocabulary word. It wasn't balanced, it was
Disbalanced.
unbalanced.
And then
Unbalanced,
the
yes.
animals on the land didn't have anything to drink.
Can I tell you what I know?
Yes. Can I say this one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Do you think you guys could do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can we look at right here real quick? See where it says our focus. Okay. So do you see how we used cause and effect to figure out conclusions to the story? That wasn't too hard, was it? It sounded that I can't sing, but at the beginning it sounded kind of hard, didn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not too hard when we break it down like this, was it?
Because we already know it, we just didn't know.
For this lesson, it was a real lesson that I actually taught in my classroom. The snippet you saw was a real life scenario that I used to bring the lesson to life. So the target of the lesson was comprehension of an informational text using cause and effect to draw conclusions. So they focused throughout the week on cause and effects and then using those cause and effects to come up with a final conclusion. We used a book set that was a what if book set, and so they built on each other and they removed different species from an ecosystem, and the students had to read these. The first lesson that you guys saw, I did a read aloud. This really supported my students with reading comprehension. In this class, I had Sarah, Luther, and Jaden. All of them have reading comprehension IEPs. So read alouds for them. I also, for those students, do rereads in small groups, and I would do a recorded audiobook that they get. That way, as they do their work, they also have support to go back to and listen. The students, for the other students in the class, they get a text set, so they get practice with reading comprehension on their own and reading text. For this skill set, it was a 4th grade skill set. For the formative assessments, I used graphic organizers to build up to writing. So the first day, they use a graphic organizer with sentence stems, and then the next day, they use one, and each time it kind of lessens the sentence stem and the support so that they can kind of learn to grasp it on their own. I also, throughout the week, give choices. So if a kid is not mastering the original graphic organizer with the sentence stems, he or she may not move on to the more challenging ones. But all the graphic organizers work to help them write. So the first day they don't write, but the second day then they do a quick write, and then they do a quicker write. And so they are building on it. And then the final summative assessment is at the end of the week, and it is a choice board. I do that so that it meets all levels of learners in my class. I have proficient, advanced, and below proficient. So for those advanced students, a choice board where they're getting to research an animal and come up with like a new topic that they haven't already read about and then write about that is a great way to challenge them. Then you have those proficient kids who, if maybe they're proficient and they're really showing mastery, they want that challenge, they can do the research, or they could do like the level work. In that, I also include personal asset type questions. So what if you were a shark and your environment, or you were removed from your environment, what would happen? Or you were a fish and a shark's removed from your environment. So adding that taste of them getting to put themselves in the shoes to help them connect with the cause and effects more. For those lower students, I typically try to, if they have an IEP or anything like that, modify. So maybe they're not to where they have mastered the skill yet, and they need to keep working on the graphic organizer. The idea is for them to gain cause and effect to draw conclusions. So if the graphic organizer is the way they can master that skill rather than the writing, which is actually just going to get in the way, and really focusing in on that. I do that with my students in my class now who it really isn't helping them master the skill. And typically I'll alter those graphic organizers as they see or as is fit for those students. As far as strategies, I do read alouds for these lessons. It's a 5-day lesson, so read alouds. I model the skills that they do. So for today, when they did the graphic organizer, I did the first one with them so that they have that first modeling of it. Also like to do real life models, so taking knowledge that they have in real life and connecting it to the lesson. So in this case scenario, they know that if you drop an egg, it cracks, but they've never thought about, like, if I drop it, then I and the cause, Miss Williams, dropped it, and that effect is the egg. But if another student does it, it's not the same cause anymore. So just taking knowledge that they know and putting it into the lesson so that they really have a tangible and memorable experience of it. As I said, I use audiobooks. As far as feedback goes on all their work, I put sticky notes with very specific advice, and it's tailored to each kid. It's really targeting the skill. So the skill is that they know cause and effect, and they can use cause and effect to draw conclusions. So I typically don't spend a whole lot of time on punctuation and grammar when the skill is really cause and effect. I want to know that they understand that skill. So I give sticky notes, and before they do their next task, they have time to meet with me to talk about that sticky note if they have any unclarification. But before the end of the week, I have one-on-one meets with each student, including my virtual students. Let's see, what else do we do? I do partner work. So for the first day, I did partner work, and then I also do small groups. It will scaffold. So the first day, I'm reading aloud. The second day, they are working in a small group to read, and then working with a graphic organizer with them. And then it builds up to independent. That way they can have peer interaction. That's a great way I engage. I believe that you use all types of learning. So kinesthetic, letting them move, letting them answer with their bodies. So in one of their activities, I had them stand on their desk or sit on the floor to answer a question, just so they're moving their bodies. Auditory, obviously read alouds. I also believe in visual. So we do a lot of like preview of vocabulary that has pictures so that as they're reading, they've already got that knowledge base there. And for those visual learners, it's really helpful. Interpersonal, so working with their students in the classroom, and interpersonal, so asking them to write how they feel about an animal going extinct. I always try to do an exit ticket that really taps into who they are. That way you're getting that interdisciplinary, that cultural aspect, and the personal asset, which all kind of helps those multi-type learnings. However, they need to connect with the material that you're learning so that they can master the skill set. For my IEP students, I modify. I do one-on-ones depending on their IEP. Depends on how much I would modify a summative or formative assessment. Obviously, if they have read alouds, then I would do, read aloud with them the story, and then working with them on the graphic organizer, letting them verbally process if they need, if they can't get it written down, but they can verbally show that they have understanding. I think that's a great way to do it. I want to know that they understand the skill. And then the audiobooks are a great way to do that. Reread with a small group of them, and providing them copies of the materials we go over, especially those visual like PowerPoints and pictures. I think that's really helpful for those students with IEPs. And then again, modifying for the formative and summative assessments. For the choice board, maybe they feel confident enough to choose one of those choices and they can write it. But maybe they need to really continue mastering that graphic organizer and then writing, a couple sentences versus an essay. I think you really have to know each individual kid. They might have the same IEP, but it might be different really for that student. So that's my lesson.